Jiri Prochazka and Carlos Ulberg is like the crazy, insane samurai versus the reserved Western boxer. And today we're going to be talking about exactly that. Today we'll be joined by RJ Clifford, formerly of Sirius XM Radio, and we'll be talking about UFC 327 and everything it means as a whole. We'll be getting into Jiri Prochazka. We'll be getting into Paulo Costa. Some of our favorite fights on the card. So guys, if you enjoy this, drop a like, drop a sub. You know the deal. Hop in. Let's get it done. Jay Clifford joins us today, MMA Insider. You may know him from a litany of other places. RJ, thanks for joining me, man. No time for salutations. We're going to go ahead and dive right into the good stuff. UFC 327's headlined by Jiri Prochazka and Carlos Ulberg for the vacant lightweight title. Of course, Alex Pereira moving up to heavyweight. And RJ's here to talk about the potential matchup, which should have been Ulberg and Alex, and now it's Prochazka and Alex, or Prochazka and Ulberg, I should say. So off the rip, RJ, dude, give me your first thoughts on this. What do you think about this matchup from Ulberg, going from a hypothetical Alex Pereira fight to the Prochazka fight, which is a bit more chaotic?
That's the understatement of the century, Blaine. A bit more, yeah. It's anarchy, man. Yeah. Yuri Prochazka wants to be like one of those Warner Brother cartoons where like a cat and dog run into like a pile of dust and then just kind of move around and someone gets out, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and you're going from Pereira, who's just such a disciplined kickboxer, like obviously violent and can bring a lot of anarchy as well, but they're so disciplined. So this is such a very like anarchy versus controlled style fight, right? Like Ulberg is very controlled, picks his spots, great straight punches, comes from that team and Oceano, who's so good at game planning and finding weaknesses. And then Yuri Prochazka is just like, I want to hit you with three elbows, a tomahawk, a samurai war spirit, and four demons, all in one combination, right? So that's what makes him so goddamn fun. And he's got the chin to be able to fight that way. So yeah, Ulberg, like I don't know how you tackle that if you're Ulberg's team. I really like Geary has to be one of the hardest guys to game plan for
I
in
was
all
about
of
to say that
MMA.
I think this is a much harder fight for Ulberg to game plan for, because you never know what Prochazka is going to bring to the table, if he's going to show up, which generally he does, but how are you going to deal? Who's going to emulate what he does in training? How are you going to get the reps against that? Ulberg, when it comes to the Alex Pereira fight, you've got how he's going to kick. He's going to kick the outside no matter what stance you're in. He's coming with a left hook and a booming right hand, and he's got a really long jab. For Jiri, for Jiri, it's like it's just unpredictable. I feel like, even like in a technical sense, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, when you're fighting Yuri, like it's weird. Like Yuri's obviously the more experienced fighter. He has UFC championship experience, championships experience overseas. But weird, like Olberg's 2 years older. You wouldn't think that because he's just like,
Yeah,
right? Like he's like
he's just
chiseled
not been
abs
around.
and jaw. And yeah, he's like the older fighter, which is weird. But obviously Yuri's the more experienced one. But Yuri's not a guy that you like obviously his experience counts, but I don't think he fights like a very experienced guy, right? It's just a ball of anarchy. And there's some setups there, and there's obviously some thought process and some skill, but um yeah, like when you think of so I always think of like there's fighters that give trainers nightmares and there's fighters that give fighters nightmares, right? Like the
Right.
you know, game planning for Damian Maya. I mean, I remember Dean Thomas when he was training Tyron Woodley to train Woodley for Damian Maya. It's just like the practices sucked because you're just doing the same thing over and over again, and it's just like just a nightmare to figure out. But like Woodley, like you're not worried about getting cold cocked by Damian Maya. He doesn't put the fear of God in you, right? He can beat you and he can choke you, can strangle you unconscious. But you're not as a fighter losing sleep over that. As a coach, you will. And then there's fighters like like a Nate Landwehr, where like I think a coach can figure that out, right? Like a real smart coach, because he's over aggressive and he kind of telegraphs some stuff. But as a fighter, you're like, oh man, he's not going to get tired. I can hit him as hard as I want. Yuri Prochazka is both.
Yeah.
It's just like, how do you game plan for him? And then at any point, he can do a 720 elbow and send your teeth into the fourth row. Like he just like every corner of your brain, he can instill fear.
Yeah, I think the last fight he had with Khalil Roundtree kind of exemplified that, because it looked like Roundtree was going to win that fight, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, Roundtree gassed," but it was yeah, Khalil Roundtree was more tired than the beginning of the fight, but at the same time, Prohaska like just stepped on the gas
Yeah.
and was just like, okay, round three, we've got to go for broke. And like, you can't train for that.
Mhm.
You can't. You can put the time in. You can wrestle. You can put in extra rounds and do a lot of cardio. But what happens when the guy with probably the best knockout puncher in UFC history right now, or not history, but in the UFC right now, numbers wise, how
Mhm.
do you train for that? And that's really kind of what Ulberg has coming for him. But I do think his corner is smart. He has a lot of good minds in that camp. And that's another thing I think we should touch on because he comes out of that camp with Adesanya and all them, and they're known for being tricky game planners. Well, we say that until we saw Adesanya last week, but yeah, that's neither here nor there.
Well,
What do
I
you?
would say honestly, I would say Adesanya's game plan was fantastic when he was doing it, and then the second he
Yeah,
squared up his stance and wanted to brawl, he got hurt and taken down.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's like weirdly, I would say Israel Adesanya's performance against Piper is a perfect example of that camp. Like you stick to the game
yeah.
plan,
You
and
just gotta
you're
stick.
and you're and you're tits, man. But like you veer off of the game plan, and you're getting pile driven by some dude from Philly.
Some dude from Philly is about the perfect way to describe Joe Pfeiffer. But so for Ulberg, what do you see in this fight? Because I mean, obviously we know how Prohaska is going to win this fight. He's going to make it a chaotic mess, and that's where he thrives. So I think the nuance is more on Ulberg's side of you have to make Jiri Prohaska fight differently. How in your mind, how do you do that? What is the path to victory here for Ulberg?
I mean, you keep your hands up. I mean, that's the big one. I mean, and that's what I've always thought about. Like, um, when you think of like wild fighters, like I remember one time, Joe Lozon, I interviewed Joe Lozon before I fought Anthony Pettis, and I'm like, how do you beat a guy like Anthony Pettis where anything can come from any angle? And he's like, you keep your hands up and you stay disciplined, right? He obviously, he eventually got knocked out, but to his point made sense. He's like, when you fight Melvin Gillard, even when you block, like he was talking about fighting Melvin Gillard, even when you block, you can still get knocked out. He has so much power. Again, Yuri Prochazka is both, right? He's the super diverse, different angles, all 8 limbs. He'll probably invent 3 other ones to hit you with, but then everything he does can knock you out. So just being disciplined and keeping your hands up and finding your spots, like even that's not enough, but that's what you got to hang your hat on. I mean, that's what you got to do is is stick to your 1-2s, stick to your, be first and third, jab at distance and get your angle. Just all that stuff. Like it's just like like Benson Henderson always used a great term, advanced fundamentals. Just be clean, be disciplined. And that's hard to do in 25 minutes against a guy as wild as Yuri Prochazka. Like he has this uncanny ability to just lure you into his quicksand, into his firefight where he has the advantage. But Ulberg's shown in his 2 15-minute fights that he's had recently that he can stay disciplined for 3 rounds. Now, can he do it for 5 rounds against the wildest dude at 205? I mean, that's kind of what we're expected to see.
How wild of a fight would have been Yuri Prohaska versus Chuck Liddell Prime?
Hmm.
Wild for wild, bro. That would have been ooh, that'd have been crazy.
Yep.
I'm just thinking like pure chaos fighters. I was just trying to rack my brain for another like a better chaos fighter than him at 205, and Chuck popped in my head, but I don't think there's many any weight class really. Maybe that Figueiredo title run was just like, hey, I'm creating chaos, but I
Mhm.
don't think of many other fighters that are going to go out there and cause a ruckus quite like he will.
Yeah. I mean, and like, look, the hands are down. Like the stance can get square. He'll lead with his chin. Like he's hit. I mean, he's certainly hittable. He's there to be hit for sure. I think it's also just not getting greedy when you land. Like you'll land something, you're like he's right there. Like let me do a 3 punch combination here. Let me plant my feet a little bit, and like that's where he catches you. So it's I keep saying discipline, and I need to get a thesaurus out and be more creative with my words, but that's just one that just keeps popping in my head is
Yeah.
just advanced fundamentals discipline.
Dominic Reyes and Johnny Walker. That's a weird old man type fight, man. What do you think about
Yeah.
this one?
Yeah, durability need not apply, right? I feel like it's just like
Don't
too
blink.
right? You feel like you're talking about just like anarchy guys at 205. I mean, that's two anarchy guys at 205 that can really put someone's lights out. Like I haven't looked at the betting lines yet, but I gotta imagine, the under is like a minus 500 with how these two guys fight. Reyes had a nice little resurgence recently
Hmm.
that I was kind of happy about and happy to see, and he was taking it very seriously. You can tell like there was definitely like a different demeanor in him. But then obviously Carlos Ulberg did what Carlos Ulberg does. So I'm not ready to, throw in the towel on Dominic Reyes yet. Still, 36 is up there, but at light heavyweight, you can be a little older. Um, yeah, I don't know, man. I feel like a head kick either way. I don't know. I just have like this weird premonition that someone's getting head kicked in this fight, which is weird because they're both like 7'6"
Well,
or whatever.
Johnny Walker always gets knocked out in the most entertaining ways possible, so I can't wait for
Yeah,
that.
that's an underrated, nice not skill, but like trait of a
Yeah.
fighter is if you're gonna be knocked out, like do it cool, Like
Do it
be
cool.
like
Yeah.
Sean Salmon, right? And just slump down and flop to your back and like, sorry, Sean, but he is like there's some guys that can just get knocked out awesome and it makes it
Right.
more fun.
Right. Josh Hokett and Curtis Blades is a fun fight. I'm kind of going down the card a little bit here, man.
Deep
This is
card, dude. Like I said, is the deepest card since UFC 300.
yeah,
Like
it's pretty deep, dude. Like I was like you told me like, hey man, we should spend less time on Van and Tyra and talk about the rest of the card. I'm like, we could do that. I started going down. I'm like, Hokett getting a big step up. Suarez, Cub
how about
Swanson, and Nate
Suarez and
Landwehr.
Godinez on the early prelims and maybe being a number one contender fight?
No,
Like
no,
I know
no, no, no.
Jillian's probably it, but like the winner of that fight does something cool. They could be next title shot.
You've got like five fights on this prelim card that could be main events in a fight night card. You got Holland Brown, Cub Swanson, Nate Landwehr is a great fight, dude. That's a
That's
fun
five for
fight.
me. That's five for
Patricio
me.
Pitbull and Aaron Pico doing what Bellator never could. Mateusz
Mhm.
Gamrot, Esteban Ribovics, Gastelum and Luke, which okay. What fight aside from the two title fights? Which one are you looking forward to the most? That's how we should go about this.
Well, I'm a sucker for Cub Swanson, and this
Yeah,
being, he's one of only two WEC guys still in the UFC. Hanayaya being the other, so
I
he's
forgot
like
about
kind of
Yas in there. Yeah,
he's still. I don't even know if he's. I think he's technically on the roster, but he fights like every leap year or something. I don't know. But like he's just like a nice throwback to the
yeah.
awesome days of the WEC hashtag WEC never die. And he's just so fun. And Nate Landwehr is so fun. Just just kind of just like just a ball of energy and
If I don't lose, I'll probably
also
win.
aggressive. Well, yeah, well that's the thing too is like Cub Swanson's been saying, "Hey, it's my retirement fight, it's my last fight, just let it all hang out, right? Just have a great, awesome
Yep.
fight, put on an awesome performance. I want to be able to walk away and say, give everything I had in the octagon." But that plays right into Nate Landwehr, who's is a younger, a little more durable action fighter as well. So if you want to just go nuts, that plays into Landwehr.
Yep.
So I'm very curious what Cub's going to do because if Cub can get crazy, but he could also fight very very disciplined, right? Training with Joel Diaz for like decades. If he wants to just be a clean boxer, he could piece up Landwehr. If
Dude,
he wants to just throw it all to the wind, I mean, he could get caught that way. But that's how he said he wants to fight. So that's the big storyline for me in that fight is what's going on in between Cub Swanson's ears.
dude, that Duho Choi and the Artem Lobov fights, those two back to back with Cub Swanson. Oh my gosh, I was like, he's the next champion. He's gonna be the champion. He's gonna win the UFC title. And then he fell off a cliff. It
Yeah.
sucked. I was
Well,
so
I
hyped.
mean, Cubs just been around so long. Like
Yeah.
I remember one time it was like 8 or 9 years ago. Cub was ranked fourth in the world, and he'd fought like one, two, three, five, six, seven, eight, and 10, and he'd lost to one, two, and three, and then beaten like five, six, seven, eight, and 10. Like he was like exactly like one of the best in the world, but he wasn't going to get past the Jose Aldos and Chad Mendez's of the world. He just wasn't able to do that.
He was
But
always so tricky. That's what I liked about him. He can get
yeah,
you to the ground where he wants you if he needs to, but he can also get in there and scrap, which is what I really enjoyed. Cub Swanson's career is one of my favorites, actually.
he's the only guy in the UFC that throws a correct head and arm throw. Everyone else just makes it look stupid. He
Yeah.
just hit bam, and
He
like then
spent hours, bro, hours working on that.
dude, he's great at it.
Easily. Easy. I think for me, as cliche as it is, Pitbull and Pico, man, I'm a sucker for
Yeah,
Aaron Pico, dude. I
yeah.
was, the most hyped on him when he was being hyped up as LeBron James with him. And I'm like, they're not wrong. This dude's got talent. And then it's just kind of he struggled to get it going. His body didn't quite hold up. But man, this fight here, it's super fun. Two very high skilled matchups, and a matchup we've been wanting forever. That's kind of the fight. That and the Randy Brown and Kevin Holland fight. That's a banger too, bro.
Mhm. Yeah, I feel like Aaron Pico is like the ultimate like MMA analyst. Just can't figure out why this guy isn't world champ. Not even world champion. He doesn't even have any good wins, which is crazy. Like you see him start throwing hooks to the body, and you see him wrestle, and he has
He's the
cardio, he's
complete package.
disciplined, he's everything. But it's just like he just can't get the gray areas of MMA well. He just can't flow between a wrestling scramble and a submission. He can't.
Well, he looked good against Murphy with that, which is what drove
Mhm.
me nuts. It's like he looked great, and then he just is chasing him around and gets caught with a spinning back up. The only time Lerone Murphy is going to knock somebody out, it's Aaron Pico.
Right, right. Like the dude who can't get a holy shit moment to save his life, and you go against like the ultimate blue chip prospect, and you get the coolest one, right? It's
Yeah,
like I just can't. Yeah, it's like he makes me feel like a dumb MMA analyst trying to figure out why Aaron Pico isn't top five.
he's good. He's great. Gamrot and Ribovics is a fun fight. I went down the list already, man. But yeah, so RJ, man, I appreciate you talking to me, dude. It's a pleasure. I've always wanted to talk to you, and I appreciate it. Where can everybody find all your stuff, dude? Where you working on some stuff at?
Uh, just on the social media, everything's on there at RJ Clifford MMA, Instagram, Twitter, all those places. Yeah, just hanging out in them Twitter streets like anyone
Awesome.
else.
Love it, man. Catch you next time.
Thank you. I'm gonna get one of those t-shirts next time, that All Valley Karate. So we'll
You
match.
like that, huh?